I'm going to take a look at Omarchy Linux. So Omarchy, I believe, is an Arch ISO with a customized installer here that'll install the Hyprland desktop. And as it says here on the website, it's a beautiful, modern, and opinionated Linux featuring the Hyprland desktop, of course. And it is by DHH. And who is that? I don't know. It is David Heinemeier Hansen. And I hope I pronounced that right. And if I didn't, too bad. Just kidding. So anyways, it says here that he is the creator of Ruby on Rails. Wow, that's cool. Okay. Never used Ruby. I've programmed in C++, Python, Pascal, but never on Ruby. I've never really had a need to, but that's kind of cool to know. Creator of Omarchy, co-owner of 37 Signals, best-selling author, Le Mans class-winning racing driver, investor in Danish startups, Shopify board member, frequent podcast guest, and family man. What a putz. Just kidding. This guy sounds like an exceptional human being, so I am already liking what I'm seeing. And so now that I know this, I'm even more excited to take a look at this. So here on the website, you can see David right there. And then he's got a video, looks like an introductory video to Omarchy. So that's kind of nice to have right available on the website. Before you download, you can kind of see what you got. Then we got Basecamp here. That must be like his flagship product or something. It's a project management system. That is cool. That's a nice looking project management system, actually. Pretty well done. Wow. Yeah, that's a really impressive looking product there. So it's also got a free level here. That's nice. So if you do one project at a time, you get 1 gig of storage space. You can upgrade at any time from there. So that's great. Free forever. How cool is that? And then the next level up is Basecamp Plus, which is $15 a month. You only get billed for employees. So yeah, that's very cool. Pay per user pricing. Wow. So another very nice deal. That looks like this is structured so a company can expand as they grow. And that is a really good model there. I like that a lot. And then of course, once you get into the big time, then you can go up to Pro Unlimited. And so that is nice. By that time, when you get to that level, it's just a line item in your budget anyway. So very cool. And then this is the Omarchy GitHub site here. And I can see here that this was just released about 4 days ago, version 3.2.0. So I'm excited to take a look at this, and I'm glad to see that I got a recent update here. So this is pretty good timing here for the video. So I'm just going to scroll back up here, and I'm going to click on the ISO, download it, and let's check it out. So here we are. We're in our Omarchy boot screen, and so it should be booting into the live installer right now. And it looks like it is. So let's see what the installer script looks like. So here we got our Omarchy branding, beautiful. And we got English, so I'm going to go with that by default, requiring a username. So I'm just going to use Toadwick. And next we need to create a password. So I'm just going to type in a password here and then confirm it. And then needs a full name. Okay, how about Fred G. Sanford, my uncle. And then email address, fred@lisbeth.com. That'll work. I'm coming to join you, Lisbeth. Okay, host name. Just hit enter, and then it'll use Omarchy by default, or you can use your own. And here we got a summary of everything we did, and it all looks good. So I'm going to hit enter, and then the default disk is selected, so I'm going to go with that. And now it's erasing the whole disk. And through the magic of editing, it is now sped up 10 times. But this part I did already. This is a pre-recorded install. So this install is running really fast, and it took 5 minutes, roughly. Okay, now it's finished, and we got our Omarchy. Wow, nice ASCII animation there. That's really cool, actually. That looked like that was fun to make. I'm going to hit reboot now, or press enter. I forgot to remove the ISO, so I'm just going to go with boot existing, and this is actually what you should come up with. So Omarchy is selected, going to hit enter, and now it needs a password because it actually encrypted the drive, so it should just go straight into the desktop without another login prompt. So your actual login is for the drive encryption instead of the session itself, and I kind of like that. That's cool. Of course, it is opinionated, so if you don't like it, lump it. Okay, here we are. We're in the desktop, and it looks beautiful. You got our nice background scene there, and we got a little helper up there. Learn the Keybindings Super K. So that's nice to know for the cheat sheet. And then update system. That's usually something everyone should do first, is before you do anything else, is update. So I'm going to just let that run. That way, anything that we might install in the future is not going to give us problems because we have an updated system. There we go. So Super K is for the cheat sheet, and that works. And I like the fact that there's a cheat sheet easily available here, so I can get an idea of what I need to do to get my basic navigation down. We got our Omarchy menu, theme menu, system menu is Super Escape. I think that's like our power. Yeah, there we go. Lock, screensaver, suspend, restart, and shut down. Nice. Okay, so that's good to know. Super K again. So Super Return will get us into our terminal. Looks like Super Shift B for browser. Screenshot, there's our workspace navigation, which is the same I'm used to. Super 1, 2, 3, and so forth. Same with moving windows. Super Shift 1, 2, 3, and so forth. I like it. I'm used to that. Toggle scratch pad. Nice. Super Shift backspace. Toggle workspace gaps. Cool. I just typed in close because I wanted to see close window, which is Super W. Typically, I use Super Q. Super W I like to use to open my browser typically, so I might change that. But that's the nice thing about having configs. You can change it to your heart's desire. I just pressed Super Alt space, and that put me directly into the app menu. Nice. Another little tidbit I learned from the cheat sheet. So we got our document viewer, Figma, files. Personally, I like Nemo, which is a fork of files. Files is Nautilus, but it's okay. We got Ghost TTY. Now that's nice. Typically, you get Alacrity in most distros, so nice to see Ghost Terminal in there. Very cool. That's a plus. Kden Live, I use Ghost, by the way. Local Send, that's a nice device sharing app, I guess. And then we got OBS Studio, print settings to make your printing setup easier, Typora, WhatsApp. So a lot of proprietary things on here too, X and Discord and all that. Cool. And I just pressed Super Space to get into our Omarchy menu. Let's take a look at style. So in here, it looks like we can adjust our theme, font, background, Hyprland, theme settings probably, and screensaver. So I'm going to start with theme, and that's nice looking. Wow. You got really nice looking previews there and a nice list. And this is our Waybar. Click on the clock there and it'll show you the date, which is cool. Then we got our workspaces over here. And then this, I think, is our, okay, direct to the Omarchy menu. So if I click it, it brings us back into the Omarchy menu. So a little distracted there, but let's just jump back into our theme settings. I want to mess with this a little bit. So if we mouse over, we can see a latte preview, ethereal. I'm going to try that. Wow, that's beautiful. Nice contrast. The colors are perfect. I really like that. That could be a keeper. At least it's on my short list as a contender. Let's see what else we got. So I'm going to just jump back into where we were. So we got also Everforest, Flexoki Light, I think that's pronounced, Groovebox, Hackerman. I like the green in the Hackerman there. That's another one. Kanagawa, Matte Black, Nord, Osaka Jade. That might be something I might like. Yeah, that looks really cool. We got Ristretto, Rose Pine, Tokyo Night, which is a nice theme. I've used that before. So yeah, a lot of great ones. It kind of starts over again when you go through the bottom, but I think I'm going to go with Osaka Jade. Let's look at that. Wow, yeah, that's me right there. That's really outstanding. I am going with that one. That's going to be my choice. Beautiful. Okay, so back in here under style, let's take a look at some of our other options. So here we got fonts. So I'm assuming these are the installed fonts here that we got. Cascade, Mono, however you pronounce that, JetBrains Mono. So we got the a lot of nice fonts there. And our background, okay, so that switched to an alternate background. So I guess selecting that gives you alternate backgrounds for the theme that you're in. And that is actually very beautiful. So I think I'm going to keep that. And then here we got our Hyprland graphic settings or theme settings. And so if we go in here, that goes into a config file that's tailored just for the look and feel. So we got our general category. And if we want to uncomment any of these items, we can do that and change the look and feel here. And same applies to our decoration for rounding. If you want rounded corners, simply uncomment that. And then our dwindle, we can adjust that too for widescreens. So that's nice to know. I don't think there's anything I really need to change in here, but this is using Vim. And I just, when I hit my escape and then shift colon, I got like a little prompt window there where I typed in Q to quit. So that's a little different. That threw me off there for a second. So apparently it's using some plugins there with Vim, maybe something like Lazy Vim or something, which I've never used. So here's our screensaver settings config. And so, yeah, it's taking it to a command line with like an autocomplete. So that's kind of cool. I could probably get used to that. Let's go back into style. Scroll down to about. And so this probably takes you to an about configuration if you wanted to mess with that for any reason. And it's pointing to the about.txt, which probably gives you all the details. So that's cool. What else can we explore? So let's see what we got in Learn. So under Learn, we got Keybindings, Omarchy, Hyprland. These are all the documentations for these different items, and that is really thorough and looks great. Let's take a look at the Omarchy documentation, see what that looks like. Maybe it's a man file or something. No, it is a web app, it looks like. So this is really nicely done. And let me just get that out of the way. I think I just opened that up. Escape to get rid of it. And so here's the Omarchy menu, and this looks really well done. Wow, this is exceptional. But I guess I wouldn't expect any less from Mr. DHH. I think his name was Dave. Oh, trigger is our next option, actually, item. So we got capture, share, and we can also trigger toggle items. So let's see what's in that category. We got screensaver, nightlight, idle lock, and our top bar. So that's nice. I guess if I click that, it'll toggle our top bar. Screensaver is disabled, so I guess that won't turn on, but that's okay. I never use it anyway. So I just hit toggle in our cheat sheet here so we can see some of the key bindings, toggle our nightlight, super control N, super control I for idle, which I never use. Super shift space to toggle the top bar. That's a handy one. And that's the one I saw at the beginning, I think. And so that worked. Super shift space again brings it back. Setup. Let's see what's under here. So here we got our audio setup, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and audio. That kind of corresponds to this guy here. That's our audio module. And so if I hit my audio keys up and down or scroll my middle mouse wheel, you can see this incrementing at 5% at a time. The audio file could actually be modified in the scripts if you want to change that percentage. And then here we got our monitors, our key bindings. Actually, the key bindings should have a reference to that somewhere, probably in the global settings somewhere. But here's our key bindings, and looks like super return for our terminal, which is nice. We got super shift F for our file manager. On my own window manager configs, I typically use super E. So I'm going to just modify it to my taste here so you can kind of see some configuration going on. So I'm going to change that to super, and then I'm going to change F to E. And there's that autocomplete. I'm not quite used to that, but I'm just going to go past it. So super E should do it. Now I pressed escape and then colon, typed in W to write it. And now if I do super E, it worked. So excellent. Instant feedback with the changes here in the config, which is nice. That's one thing I like about Hyprland. This is nicely themed, actually. Again, goes right in line with the Jade theme. So that's all flawless. So we close out of there. And I just close out. I hit Super Q by mistake. I'm used to that. But anyways, so here's our browser, Super Shift B. And let's try maybe Shift B, or how about W? I use W for my browser, usually W for web browser. That's just easier for me to remember. So I'm going to write that and quit out of there and hit Super W, and it worked. So excellent. That looks good. And it looks right in line with the current theme. Again, the Jade settings here. We go, and let's just take a look at our settings and our theming for our profile. So I'm just going to stick with the green. I think that looks good. Then you can pick an avatar. It's got the Siamese cat. That's cool. In a origami style. Double cool. So there we go. Yes. I'm going to just go back to our new tab that we had open before. And I really like the way it stays true to the styling of the Jade theme. So even right inside Chromium, it looks great. Scroll down a little bit. Here we got our update, about, and system. So if I go on here, oh yeah, we were here before, I think. So that's our power menu. So let's take a look at our apps. So here we got 1Password, Basecamp, Calculator, ChatGPT, Chromium, Discord. So we got some proprietary stuff in here too. Cool. Docker. I'm not a Discord fan, but if you are, that's pretty handy. Got Ghost Terminal. I like that. Typically on most distros, you end up with Alacrity as a default, which is not really my favorite, but I use Ghost myself, so I like that. Right now I'm going to just install Inkscape just to show a terminal install. So I'm going to authenticate here and let that install. But yes, again, I'm impressed. This is Ghost Terminal, Ghost TUI technically. So now that if I hit Inkscape, you can see that it showed up there in the search there in the app, which is Super Space. Takes you directly into the app menu. And then, of course, you can type up here to find anything directly if you like. So that's a nice time saver. Find local send, there it is. That's always a quick way to navigate the menu. And this is local send. I don't have any external devices hooked up, so it's not really going to connect to anything, but I could connect to my iPhone or whatever I choose to hook up here. I think even on other PCs. Not sure, but I know you can connect to your phone. And I just tried to quit out of here, and I realized, yeah, it's not Super Q like I'm used to. It's Super W, and that's what I assigned to the web browser rats. So I just double assigned that, and now I can't close Windows because it wants to open the web browser. So that was kind of dumb. I guess I'll need to fix that. So let's jump back into setup, Keybindings. And here you can see our web browser, Super W, but there's no mention of Super Q or of close window in here. So to kill the window, it's got to be in a global shortcut somewhere. Now I could just simply change my web browser key binding to something else like Super B or something, but let's find that because I want to know how to get to it. It should be in our local file, I think, maybe under Omarchy. These should be like your base defaults, I think. There's default, so let's start with that. And okay, so there's Hyper, which is behind my head, but there we go, bindings. So let's go in here, tiling. That looks like it might be something. We got a V2 as well, so it's probably under V2, but let's start with tiling conf. There we go, Super W. So that's the close window to kill all. And I want to change that to Q, so let's do that. And off camera, I installed Mousepad, so that's why we're in a different environment. I thought that would be easier for non-Vim users to kind of wrap their head around what's going on here. So change that to Q, Super or Control S to save it, and it didn't work. So let's go in here and try it again. So I think the V2 is where we want to change this. So I'm going to change that to Q again, and then Control S to save it. And now let's try Super Q and see if it closes, and hopefully it will. It did. Yay. Okay, so that's the file to modify for that global setting there is in our .local share Omarchy default hyper bindings folder, tiling v2.conf. Cool. So that was easy, easier than easy peasy. And so if we go back into our config, a lot of our files, like our Hyprland files that we access through the menu, actually go here. I would recommend configuring through the menu, though, whenever possible. But it's nice to know where these are. And then the Waybar, again, our config file is in our .config/Waybar in our home folder. Good to know. But if we go up here to, where is it? I keep forgetting. Setup, I think. So if we go into setup, we can access these like our key bindings. Then for Waybar, I think it might be under config. So let's try that. There we go. And so our Waybar config is in here. And that'll open us directly up in NVim, which is our default editor, or Vim, or NVim. I don't know. I didn't look. But anyway, so here we got our modules up here corresponding to the modules right category here. So the expander is right there, and it's showing our keyboard when it expands. And we got our network settings or Wi-Fi, and then audio, and then our CPU stuff. And of course, battery's not showing up because we're not in a laptop. And it detects that. There's our clock for our center module, and then our custom update, which we're not using actually. And I'm going to slide down a little bit. So if we want to modify that clock, all I got to do is scroll down and look at this clock category module. And if I go up here and then press I for insert, that'll put me in edit mode. And then I can type %, and S for seconds. And it looks like it's got an autocomplete there. So yeah, this must be using, I don't know, some kind of plugin there that I'm not used to. I don't really use plugins, but let me just do W to save that. And to write it, I just pressed escape to get out of edit mode, and then ;, to type in my W for write. So now if I go back in here in my key bindings, I want to do like refresh. I forgot how to refresh the bar. How about just to see other options like reload, just bar. How about that? Toggle top bar. There we go. Oh yeah, super shift space. Okay, so super shift space, toggle that, and now we can see our seconds. Yay, but they're not doing anything. That's because by default, the interval only updates every 1 minute. So I'm going to have to go back down here and specify the interval to go per second. So I can do that by going back in here. Here we got our %S for seconds that we just modified. But let me just go over here and space over 4 spaces and quote interval, end quote, and then let's do a : space 1 with a comma, and then save it by hitting escape. Save it. And now I'm going to launch it in the terminal. I'm going to kill the bar in the terminal here just for fun. I don't recommend doing this. You really should just do it the right way, but I just want to mess with it. So let's do Waybar %. This way you can just kind of see how you can manually kill the Waybar and launch it. Like if you're experimenting and you're just kind of needing to go quickly back and forth, that's how you would do it. But anyways, now you can see that it's incrementing 1 second at a time because we specified the interval to do that. So there you go. And here's some of our other things here, like our custom screen recording, Bluetooth, battery, clock, again, custom update. So anything you might want to modify in here, you can do that right here in the config, which is very handy. And by the way, if I didn't mention it before, this is Mousepad to make it easier for non-Vim users to wrap their head around. And it's even easier for me because I don't have to talk so much when I refer to inserting and so forth. So this is Basecamp from the launched directly from the app menu. So it takes you right to the login, which is pretty cool. Nice that access is there, even though I don't use any project management, have a need for it. It's nice that it's there because there's probably a lot of people that use stuff like that. So if we go up to let's right click on the audio thing here. And when you do that, it opens up a config. Then I'm going to press Super F to full screen that. That way you can see all the options real good. If I hit my tab key, I can navigate through the different options there at the bottom. Output devices, input, configuration. And you can see this is a TUI, which is like a terminal UI. So it's graphical, but you can also interact with it with your mouse. TUI apps are really cool. So I'm just sliding the slider here with my mouse, and you can see that it moves, even though it's like a console app. So that's kind of a simplified way to describe it, I guess. Input devices, configurations. Again, this drop down, you can click on it and change your options with your mouse, which is very cool. And of course, by default, it would be the analog duplex there, stereo. So I'm going to keep it there. let's do a fast fetch and just kind of look at our details. I think that's installed, and it is. So here we can see that we're running Omarchy 3.2.0, which is the latest as of the time of this video. Linux 6.17.8, latest kernel. Hyprland 5.2.1, which is also the latest, with the Wayland compositor, Ghost terminal, and HTOP didn't work, so let's try BTOP. That's better anyway, in my opinion. And I'm opinionated too. So here we go. It looks like we're running about 1.8 in memory usage, which is not bad considering that I'm in a VM and I got other things open and I'm not at idle. And here we can see a nice layout of our processes. And backing out of there, I just closed my terminal and closed my Waybar as well. Oh, that's right, because I launched it with my terminal. I forgot about that. Okay, so Super Alt space, back in here, update, or back in here was an update, and I think I can update my Waybar in here, maybe. Update config. Let's try that. I forgot. Because I forgot the key binding again. Waybar. Super Shift Space, I think it was for the... But anyways, I refreshed it here through the menu, and looks good. And our seconds are gone. What? Okay. I think it's because I didn't edit that directly through the menu. I'm pretty sure I opened that up in Mousepad the second time and directly edited it, and the save didn't take for some reason. So let's do it the right way. Let's go scroll down here to our config menu item, Waybar, and it opened up Vim, and yeah, it saved the spot. That's nice. So I for insert, then :%S, and still can't get used to that autocomplete. It's a nice feature though, but I got to get used to it. Okay, cool. And then I got to add in my interval. So I'll just go down here, click, hit enter, and it put me in the right spot. So I'm just going to in quotes type interval. The autocomplete's handy there. And then : and 1, comma. And now let's save it, hit escape, and then shift : WQ. And that wrote it and quit. And it updated the bar automatically as well too, so I didn't have to worry about refreshing the bar. So that's another advantage to doing that through the menu instead of the roundabout way, which I did before. So now we got our seconds going and the Waybar refreshed on its own. So that's the way to do it. All right, so I think I'm pretty much done here with the overview. I can't think of anything else to cover, but I got to tell you one thing. I really like what I'm looking at. It says Omarchy is an opinionated distro, and I'm good with that. Opinionated just simply means that this guy, David, DHH, created this probably originally just for his own use. And so he said, this is the way I like it. This is what works for me. And hey, you know what? Maybe I'll share it with the world. What the heck? Other people could probably use it. But I'm just going to share what I got. And if people find it useful, that's great. And if they're savvy enough to modify it to their own taste, they got a nice base to start with. And so I like that philosophy, actually. That sounds like kind of the way I would do it if I was creating something. This Omarchy, one thing I really like about Omarchy is I've used other post-install scripts for Hyprland before that are real fancy and have all these different menus and items that you can mess with, ways of changing themes and so forth. But the one thing most of them have in common is they feel heavy. And so that heaviness always kind of weighs on me a little bit in the background, where this does not have that heavy feeling. This feels light and easy to use. And I like that light, airy feeling, and it's very intuitive for me, at least the way I think. And it just has the stuff that's pre-installed that I like already. So how cool is that? At least it is for me. So do I recommend Omarchy? Heck yeah. One thing to keep in mind is, as far as I know, like for example, on my system, I have a separate partition for the home folder. And so what I don't know, at least at this point, is if I would be able to install this on a system with an existing home folder in a separate partition. I don't know if it would automatically pick up on that home folder and assign that as a home folder, or if I would have to manually do that. So that part is a question mark in my mind, and I would have to experiment a little bit with that just to see if that would work. Because I did notice that you can select your partition to do the initial install. So I'm just not sure about the home folder. And so that might have to be something that's manual, or it may detect it. So that's a question mark. Wow, you can have an install here in literally minutes and be up and running in a fully operational Hyprland environment, which is just outstanding. I think that's cool. And for that alone, I got to give that a double thumbs up. Absolutely, for sure. And so I hope this quick overview was helpful. And if it was, don't forget to leave that thumbs up. Those thumbs up there really help the algorithm. You've heard the spiel before. Go ahead and tap it. Hit that thumbs up. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.